As a financial advisor, your time is best spent doing what truly matters. Client and practice administration is not high on that list. And neither is spending time on repetitive Excel modeling and client reporting, right? We agree. Imagine a world where you have double your client base, more revenue, and more time. Some would call that heaven. We call it Wealthbit. Wealthbit is every financial advisor's secret weapon. The key that unlocks more time, more revenue, and kicks time-consuming parts involved in giving professional advice to the curb. How, you ask? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Okay, we'll tell you. Technology can play a key role in making financial advice available to more people. But until now, the market has lacked a truly robust and easy-to-use tool. Hello, Wealthbit. Wealthbit is the world's first truly advisor and client-focused retirement and wealth cash flow planning tool, giving both advisors and clients an engaging, logical, consolidated, real-time scenario planning experience right at your fingertips. And with your full practice client dashboard, you have a complete view of where your entire client base is positioned for retirement, helping you deliver the right results to those who need it most. Reduce complexity, time, and administration, and increase your level of advice and your client base. It's that simple with Wealthbit.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for this FPI webinar, and thank you FPI for inviting us to take part in your webinar. Before we start, it's always quite nice to see what people are wearing. So it seems like most people are, work on the top, party on the bottom. I've got my slipper socks on, keeping me nice and warm in these cold times. So to kick it off, my name is Roland Ulfier, and I run business development within Wealthbit. And kind of over my 8 years of being in the industry, I started within the banking space and financial advice space as well, and then moved over into asset management. And during that period of time, I went from analyst to a head of tech and innovation for the business. And what I realized in that time, and I guess what drove me to that position, is really how offline the market really is, and how much opportunity there is, to really augment your offering through the use of technology in this age of, let's say, bionic advice. Now, to introduce our speakers, we'll be chatting to Alex Cook, who is our founder of the business, and our head of product, Ari Peters, and they'll be showing us what the system looks like, and just giving us a bit of background as to how, what, and why. Now, Alex is quite a passionate guy. You'll come to realize. Very passionate about table tennis, not a sport everyone would be quite averse with. And he also loves spending time with his family. Everything he does is really to make sure his family has the best life possible. Now, he's very passionate about the financial advice space and really helping people to get to a better position, to live their best life effectively. And over his he started his entrepreneurial adventures with a bit of property in his 20s. He's still running that today. And this moved over to him co-founding GCI in the year 2000. Thereafter, he went on to become a non-executive director at Cinnabar Investment Management. And over time, he started to realize that there wasn't really the right software in the market that could achieve what he was looking for. So he took a little bit of a look around and then realized that Wealthbit was the key. And that's why we're all here today. So if you could please all help me in welcoming Alex Cook, and he'll be taking us through our kind of a why, what, and how.
Thanks very much, Roland, and welcome to everyone that's joined us today. It's great to be amongst so many fellow advisors, and a big thanks to the FPI for inviting us here. To set the scene, I'd like you to imagine a world where everyone knows their financial situation. A world where everyone knew which of their dreams that require money could be achieved and which were actually beyond their reach. A world where people know whether their capital will outlive them or whether they will outlive their capital. In this world we imagine, it would be akin to a sin to not know your status, your financial status, that is. We believe that it's up to us as the advisor community who are the people best positioned to advise, mentor, and coach our population to make this a reality. In 2016, we embarked on a journey to develop Wealthbit. On the journey, we've been extremely selective about who we've collaborated with to make Wealthbit exactly what us as the advisor community need. Amongst the collaborators are 2 financial planners of the year, many CFPs, and then of course the FPI. What we hope is that this session will help you fundamentally shift the way you do business and leverage your most valuable asset, which is of course the asset of time. As an advisor looking after about 140 clients, I know that our biggest constraint to acquiring new clients and to looking after that long tail that we all have becomes time. And I believe if we're able to get clients engaged in their own plan, and through automating many of our repetitive tasks, such as data consolidation, save you enough time to take on double the amount of clients you have and to double your income, we will change their destiny for millions of South Africans. And along the way, we'll become extremely successful ourselves. Thanks very much for your time today, and I really look forward to your questions afterwards.
Guys, you see, passion. Told you the man is made of pure passion. That doesn't run short in this business. Next up, we've got Ari, head of product at Wealthbit. And this man started out by building skills and doing this as fast and as eagerly as he possibly could. But he got to a point where he realized that building cool things from the skills he was learning was not as important as building things that people need and want. And as Steve Jobs said, making a dent in the universe. So he now heads up the strategy for the product itself, and he works with all units of the business to ensure that strategy is aligned, to ensure that the product is built to a superb manner, as well as ensuring customer success. Ari, please take it away. Looking forward to seeing what you have to show us.
Thanks for that intro, Roland. It's really cool to be here, everyone. My name's Ari, and yeah, I'm just super excited to actually show everyone what we've been working on. And I think, both Roland and Alex summed up the essence of what we're trying to achieve. We want to save time. We want to be in this position of delivering a really impactful software to both advisors and their clients as well, so that the clients can ultimately just get to the best possible outcome by being more engaged and more involved really in their finances. So what I'm going to take us through is a bit of the flow that you as an advisor typically would go through with your client. And I'll also highlight some key areas in the system where we've really gone about automating some things and also sharing a bit of the responsibility between you as an advisor and your clients. And all of this basically sums up into that kind of beautiful balance of giving the clients a bit more autonomy over their finances, where some of them really do enjoy that, especially if they're more involved in the numbers. And then on the other side, allowing you to save some time. The screen we're looking at right now is the Managed Clients dashboard, really, that you'll see as an advisor. This page would be populated with all of your clients as soon as you kind of log into the system. That is, we automatically import through static data sheets that we export from other systems or whatever. And the cool thing is this gets you started very quickly. From this point on, we'll go and onboard a client. The nice thing to kind of note here is that we can actually send a client an invitation right off the bat. That means that they'll be able to onboard themselves. So if you have a client that's a little bit more tech savvy, or would like to actually capture their own information, then you can go ahead and do that. So when we onboard a client, the flow that you as an advisor sees and that the client sees will be very similar. The client just is also prompted to kind of add their assets that they currently have. And what we're also doing for a lot of the FSPs using the system is we're automatically importing their asset data into the system, which I'll also demo in this right now. So the first couple of questions, super easy, super straightforward. They're just really about getting to know those basic things about your client. When do they want to retire? What's their current kind of income and current expenses? And then how does this translate into a budget at retirement? This number initially is just a kind of simple calculation, but we'll actually take this and give you the opportunity down the line to do a more complete and holistic budget, just to hit those line items that clients sometimes forget about. So we have a risk profile that you can go through with the client. That's why we had this OTP step as well. And what that's really for is the OTP step in itself is just keeping track of who answered the questionnaire, if it was you as an advisor or your client, and then did they actually get an OTP to kind of have a consent step, so to speak, that we record for compliance. But the risk profile questionnaire is fairly straightforward. A couple tolerance questions that we've developed, and there's only 5 of them because we didn't want to overburden the clients with this entire process. But all of this kind of brings us to a point of the overall risk profile. So the overall risk profile is combined out of 3 elements. We have a required risk, capacity for risk, and the risk tolerance. All of these we take into consideration to give kind of a weighted average, which we feel is a more accurate representation of a client's risk. We really feel strongly that combining both quantitative and qualitative analytics is a better way and more complete way to go about risk profiling. So after this step, we're basically done. We'll get to the dashboard and we can start filling out the asset values for the client, and we can start seeing how their projection actually takes shape. So scrolling down in the system, you'll see a couple elements that'll populate as we add assets. There's your monthly retirement budget, the asset allocation chart. Let's start by adding a quick unit trust. So it's super simple. We just give it a name, just call this unit trust monies, and we'll add 500,000 into this. And let's say the client's contributing another 1,500 Rand a month. What this will do is it'll add that asset in, save it, it'll actually update the projections for us, and it'll pull through some default asset allocations that we have defined in our system, and kind of just start constructing this profile as a whole. Great, so now that it's added our asset for us, we can actually see that the asset allocation came through and the projection actually started to build up. Here we can see the shortfall that the clients will have based on their desired budget and what they would safely be able to draw, and then what that shortfall is actually going to be. You can see that they're actually running out of money at this point, in and around the age of 72. You can see some capital requirement values as well, and toggle between present and future value. There's also some general assumptions that can be edited, like the inflation rate and the annual increase in savings for a client. So what I really want to kind of delve right into is the meat of the system. This is scenario planning. The power behind this is that it's a duplicated version of the base plan that we just set up together. And the client can also create their own scenarios. They can go in, create a scenario, play around, add those holiday events that they want, maybe all of those cars they want to buy, and everything in between. And they can do all of that without impacting their main plan. The nice thing about this is when they're ready to actually have that conversation with you as an advisor, they can just send it for review, which means that you get the that kind of touch points at the right time when it's important to the client, but it also gives them the freedom to explore these different kind of cases and opportunities and goals in real life, in their own time, and when they or when the mood strikes them, when they have that impulse to buy that holiday home. So I think the first part for us to start at is adding a cash flow event. So our cash flow events in the system are very simple, but super, super powerful. Here we can add income and expense events. And in this case, I think we're just going to add a income. And let's say this is a sale of business that we actually want to add in. And let's say we know that the business is going to sell for, let's say 1.5, and this client is currently 30. So let's say at around 45, we'll sell this business. Now it's not going to be a recurring event. And we can just add it into the calculations just like that. What this will do is take that base plan that we set up, apply the cash flow income event, and project what the impact of that's going to be. So immediately we see this jump up of the sale of business in the graph, and we can see that our capital actually lasts longer. And this creates a very powerful and easy to understand way of communicating to the client what the impact of different things in their lives actually going to be on their finances. Because sometimes it's just super hard to visualize or rationalize abstract numbers. And this tool just really makes it simple and easy and intuitive to understand. So now that we've sold a business, let's buy a boat, because why not? Because that's typically, I think, how that conversation might go. And we'll say we'll buy this boat shortly after. So we've sold the business at 45, and now we're at like 46, right? We've been unemployed for a year, we're a little bit bored, now we want a boat. And it's a once-off event, so we're just gonna add it. And at this point, again, makes that conversation a little bit easier. So we can see immediately, boom, graph just takes a bit of a dive, and the client is in a slightly worse position than they were before selling their business, and even before they added cash flow events altogether. So now it becomes simple, right? A very easy conversation to say, hey, are you really sure that boat is worth not eating, right? Which is what it basically boils down to. So we can just activate these toggles, turn them on, turn them off, whichever way, to kind of instantly see what the impact is on the graph and play around with a couple of variables. There's also the budget. So often the only change a person can make is changing how much income they actually are going to live off. If they maybe don't have enough capital or they aren't saving enough, then that's a variable we can change. So here we can change it pretty simply, but I actually want to show you the detailed budget. Here we have two kind of columns next to each other, your current budget and your retirement budget. This contrasts in a very clear way the differences between the two expense lines. So currently, the client might have a bond and might not pay that much for medical expenses. In retirement, that picture changes a little bit. So all in all, here you get to go through the details of a person's life, or let them do it even, and they can actually fill all of this out to get a very clear picture of their financial position with regards to their budgets and what they might be spending in the future. Another important point is risk profiling. We have a method of kind of adjusting a simple risk. And what this really is used for is when you kind of have a situation where a client, does the risk profile and everything, and they're super like moderate or conservative, but they actually need to be more aggressive to achieve their goal. Here you can actually just drag the slider, override the calculations in the system to at least represent the growth of the portfolio that you've maybe agreed to, regardless of their kind of feeling towards that kind of level of risk. So that's super useful for that. They can also just retake the questionnaire if at any point, annually you'd like them to do so. We have a notes section, which is super useful as well. And this has been used in so many different ways. Advisors kind of using it as a bit of a record of advice. They use it as a bit of a to-do list for a client saying, I've set up this plan for you and go check out all of these different elements, like add this cash flow event, fill out your budget, or do all of these things in the system. And we found that that actually works pretty well. So I'm just going to add a note saying that, hi, my name is a note, because, creativity. And if we scroll up a little bit to this point, we'll just adjust our retirement age, hopefully painting a little bit of a better picture, and then we'll save the plan. So there's two paths basically to take when saving a plan. You can either save it and come back to it later to continue editing and refining, or you could save and implement the plan. Now, what the implementation really is it just swaps this with the plan that we onboarded with initially. So this becomes the agreed upon plan between advisor and client, a historical archive, so that over the lifetime of using Wealthbit, your clients will be able to see the entire history of their plans and how they changed over the years, which is really a powerful thing, both for tracking growth, but also from a compliance perspective, saving you that extra bit of time when it comes to compliance. So we're just going to save this plan and we'll call it the chosen one. And we'll implement it. And this will actually now go onto our dashboard in just a second. The next step is to actually generate a PDF report. Oh, and by the way, when you implement a plan like this, we actually send an email to you as well with kind of a breakdown of everything that changed in the plan. So that's another cool piece of automation and record keeping that you can have at all times. So here on the main dashboard, we can see that this is the new plan. It is the chosen one, so to speak. And at this point, we can actually go and we can download a PDF. Okay, so let's quickly download a report and take a look at what that looks like. So the thing about the reports is we basically take all the information that we've collected thus far, and we really took the stance of not wanting to overwhelm a client in the way that typically happens, right? Where there's just like 1,000 pages with technical jargon everywhere, and the client looks at it and, you know, has a slightly larger panic attack than when you started the conversation. So in this, we just thought, you know what, let's keep it simple. And I think we've landed on something that fits that criteria pretty well. So on the first page, just a report overview of the portfolio value. We have different kind of personal details like the ID number, all of those kind of things on here. And then we have the breakdown of the graph, the asset allocation, some capital values in between. You can even see the cash flow events on the graph. It's pretty cool. And then the assets. So here we have our assets page, and we actually show you, you know, groups by the different types of assets, what those kind of totals are. The same goes for the cash flow events. We break them up into the income and expenses, so you can easily have that as part of the report. We show a breakdown of the risk profile. We show the questions that were asked as well as the answers. And we also give some definitions around those different buckets of or elements of risk that we spoke about. So, you know, from required, capacity, and tolerance, we kind of just give a brief explanation of each of those points as an additional point, so it's just easier to communicate to your client. And would you look at that, our notes, my name is notes, right here in the PDF report as well. And that's pretty much it. That's the entire report. One thing that I wanted to mention is we're always open to suggestions. Alex mentioned this earlier, is we work with the FSPs and IFAs that really just give us feedback in the system so that we can build the most meaningful thing to solve the problems that they face every day. You know, and if there's something that's lacking in a report or that they want to see additionally, or even a different report that we can look at generating, then we'd be more than happy to take those suggestions and actually improve what we have in the system. So all in all, that is basically the planning flow for Wealthbit. There's some other cool things sprinkled in between the system. There's these previous plans that I spoke about earlier. There's a manage prospects tab that we have as well. And what that is basically is prospects for your organization. You can add new prospects that you're busy seeing right here in Wealthbit. And they'll have a bit of limited functionality. You can create maybe fewer scenarios. But the purpose behind this really is to separate those lists between your existing clients and the ones that you're still kind of engaging with to convert them to clients. And when they do, it's as simple as clicking a button to convert them over to a full client in the system. That'll unlock more functionality and freedom for them. And they'll just move over to that other list while keeping all of their data exactly as it is. Super cool, super powerful, super easy. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is Wealthbit.
Awesome. Thanks, Ari. What a great demonstration of the system. I'm pretty sure you guys saw some of the power out of this tool. I mean, his team of propeller heads really eat, sleep, and breathe financial dev. And really, all they want to hear is your feedback. So looking forward to getting that from you. Now, before we do any Q&A, please don't raise your hands to ask me where I got my slipper socks. I'd have to ask my government, and she's not around right now. So I do understand you can get them at Cotton On, I think. So have a look there. But if you have any other questions pertaining to the system, please raise your hand or ask a question, and I'm sure the FPI team will be able to assist us in answering those. And if you have no questions right now, and looking forward to a demo, and I'm sure you're eager to get stuck into the system, please visit wealthbit.co/FPI to book a demo. And looking forward to meeting you and showing you the system. But cool, guys, on to a Q&A. Looking forward to chatting to you guys.